Hello, everyone. Welcome back to RYGR Sports. My name is Logan,
And my name is Yash.
and on today's video, we are going to each be ranking our top five quarterbacks of all time in NFL history. I know we haven't uploaded a video in a while. It's been kind of a dry period in sports, besides the NBA playoffs, and I know the NHL playoffs are on as well. But other than those two events, there really isn't much going on. So we haven't been able to upload a video in a while, but we're gonna try and upload a little bit more starting now. But in today's video, we each have five quarterbacks that we want to rank as far as their all-time ranking. I think number one is pretty obvious, but the other four can be interchangeable, and we're going to discuss why each quarterback deserves their spot and what they accomplished, and our ranking of them. So I'm going to start with my list, and then I'm going to hand it over to Yash so he can do his list. So I'm going to start off my list at number five. I'm gonna put Joe Montana at number five. Now, 5 years ago, maybe like 5 to 10 years ago, Joe Montana, arguably could have been number one. But watching Tom Brady do what he's done in the last 10 years, he definitely has overtaken Joe Montana. Um, but what this guy did in the '90s was incredible. I mean, you talk about a guy that has four Super Bowls, which is up there with the goats. And he also won Super Bowl MVP in three of those, which is very impressive as well. A 40,000 yard career passer, which when you look at the all-time rankings, it's not really too far up there. Obviously, that's a lot of passing yards. But there's a lot of guys that have some of these guys have double that. So when you take a look at like a longevity and a consistency view, Joe Montana really isn't up there with a lot of other guys that have so many more passing yards and years of excellence than he does. But when you talk about like some of the best players in the 80s and 90s, Joe Montana was definitely up there with some of the best. I know Dan Marino was very good back then. Troy Aikman was very good back then. I mean, when you take a look at the quarterbacks from that era, the Joe Montana 49ers were always up there with, some of the best teams in the NFL. So I'm going to put Montana at five. I think as the decades go on, that ranking will kind of slip and he will start moving more down. But for right now, I think he's done enough in his career to get a spot in the top five. So now moving on to number four, I'm going to put Drew Brees here. Um, you know, Drew Brees, when he was with the Saints, one of the best quarterbacks of all time. This guy played for such a long time, and was so good for a long time. He has a Super Bowl, and one MVP. But those two things aren't really why he's considered one of the best among um, all of the quarterbacks in history. I mean, this guy is second in passing yards all time, with 80,000 yards. There's only one guy that has more, and that's Tom Brady. But when you look at Drew Brees' career, he wasn't really a big guy. He didn't really have too much arm strength. But what he lacked in those areas, he really had elite accuracy. Um, and he always made his teammates better. Drew Brees, when you look at his career, he didn't really have a Hall of Fame like superstar wide receiver. He had a lot of great consistent receivers over his career. Like Jimmy Graham back when the Saints were really good. He had a prime Michael Thomas. But when you look at his career, there wasn't really a like a superstar go-to receiver, and that's what makes his numbers even more impressive. To achieve 80,000 yards in an NFL career is one of the best things you can do. And he threw 571 touchdowns in his career as well, which is up there near the top. I grew up a fan of the Saints. My cousin's a Saints fan, and Drew Brees was. I think he was the first actual NFL jersey that I ever owned. When I was a young kid back in like, I don't know, like fifth or sixth grade or something like that. But I really did enjoy watching Drew Brees throughout his NFL career, and his longevity numbers are some of the greatest numbers we've ever seen. So he's gonna go at number four for me. Moving on to number three, this is where I'm gonna put Peyton Manning. Arguable number two. Um, but I'm gonna slot him in at number three here. 72,000 career passing yards is right up there. That's an insane number. I mean, 539 touchdowns. He won the MVP five times, which is crazy. To be a five-time NFL MVP is, you know, one of the greatest things you can do. And he also won two Super Bowls, one with when he was with the Colts, and then he won in the final year of his career with the Denver Broncos back in 2015. Peyton Manning, similar to Drew Brees, longevity wise, this guy is one of the greatest. To win MVP five times, I mean that's something that's going to be very, very, very hard to repeat, and especially in today's NFL when there's so many good quarterbacks in the league. Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow. I mean, there's so many guys that can just go out and win MVP every single year, and to think this guy won it five times in his whole career is pretty insane. I know he had some really great receivers during his time with the Broncos. Guys like Demaryius Thomas, Emmanuel Sanders, just to name a few. He had some really great help during his NFL career. But compared to the other guys on this list, Peyton Manning definitely, I think, had a better career than Drew Brees, with the five MVPs. And then when you take a look at Joe Montana, I think he's done, I like to value more current players more than previous players of the 80s and 90s. I just think as time goes on, the game evolves into a much more skilled game. And you kind of have to value guys that do a little more in this era than previous eras. And I think Peyton Manning has done that. So I think I would take him over Joe Montana as well. Um, there was another receiver
Marvin
that
Harrison.
who
Marvin Harrison.
Marvin Harrison. There you go. I knew there
Yeah.
was one more on the Colts that he had a really good connection with. Um, but when you take a look at Peyton Manning's career as a whole, this guy has done it all. And he's going to be at my number three spot. So moving on to the my second best quarterback of all time, this is where I'm going to put Patrick Mahomes. Now, I guess this is kind of a hot take. I know Yash definitely does not have Patrick Mahomes this high on his list. But the difference between Pat Mahomes and the other quarterbacks on this list is that I got to watch this man's prime. Now, you could say that his prime is probably over. I mean, sure, the Chiefs can, I know they just got Kenneth Walker, so then the Chiefs can definitely like go back to another conference championship or something like that. Um, but I think Patrick Mahomes' prime was probably the last five seasons. Watching this guy play is pretty unbelievable. This guy runs around the field. He's got incredible arm strength. He's got really nice. He's got crazy crazy toughness. And then we saw it in the playoffs every year. I mean, I think this guy went to like a conference championship for like seven seasons in a row or something like that, which is, we don't really see that often other than Tom Brady. Um, but obviously his career, other than the other three quarterbacks on this list, Patrick Mahomes' career is not over yet. He's sitting at 32,000 yards right now. I would say his career is probably about halfway over. I think he got drafted in 2018. So this would be, I believe, his ninth season in the NFL. Um, so if you do some math, I mean, maybe he gets to 60,000 career yards, maybe 65,000, which would be a really nice number. Um, he's got 245 touchdowns. I mean, if you double that, I mean, he's got around 500. That's where Breeze and Manning and Breeze have a little bit more, but that's kind of around the number where they're at as well. Obviously, he has the two MVPs and the three-time Super Bowl winner as well. I think if he can rack up one more Super Bowl or maybe even two, I think there is a debate to be had. But in my opinion, I don't think that number one spot is going to be taken anytime soon. But if there's a guy that can maybe make the debate a little bit closer, it's definitely Patrick Mahomes. I know Joe Burrow has a Super Bowl appearance, but other than that, he hasn't done much. So I don't think there's a quarterback in the NFL right now that can challenge Patrick Mahomes. Obviously, if you look 10 years into the future, there's so many good quarterbacks being drafted so high nowadays that anyone can, have a great start like Mahomes did. Um, but when you look at this guy play, I mean, it's clearly obvious with the play on the field that this guy's a Hall of Famer. He's one of the best quarterbacks of all time. I know he had a prime Tyreek Hill to throw to, and a prime Travis Kelce. Um, but when you look at every quarterback, there's always elite, you know, receivers that catch passes and help out the quarterback, and those two guys are definitely some of the best. So, I'm gonna have Patrick Mahomes at number two. I think he can make the debate for one a little bit closer, but only time will tell. And moving on to my number one spot, who is it? It's gonna be Tom Brady. Uh, we all know what Tom Brady has done in his NFL career. Seven-time champ, three-time MVP. He's got the most passing yards in history. He's got the most passing touchdowns in history. I mean, what hasn't this guy done? Um, I don't think there's going to be another quarterback that, overtakes his spot. It's tough. It's a tough debate because obviously, you have LeBron in basketball. Obviously, we don't know who's going to overtake LeBron, if anyone even ever is going to take over LeBron. Um, and I think it's a similar, conversation here with Tom Brady. I mean, what hasn't this guy done? Uh, so I don't think there's much to talk about here with Brady. His prime with the Patriots was unlike something we've ever seen. And obviously, you have the 28-3 comeback, which is arguably the greatest comeback in sports history. I know you can argue the 2016 Cavaliers, which I think is the greatest comeback in history, but this one against the Falcons in the Super Bowl is, up there as well. Part of his unbelievable legacy. Um, and I don't think there's anyone that's going to challenge Tom Brady anytime soon. I mean, I don't even know if we're ever going to see another player win seven Super Bowls. That is just like an insane number, especially with all the talent in the NFL now. Anyone can go have a great. We just saw the Seahawks win, which was completely like no one saw that coming. So I don't think there's going to be another quarterback that goes out there and wins seven. I know Mahomes has three, but he would need four more to tie. I don't see it. Um, but yeah, overall, Tom Brady has the best stats, the best accolades, the best everything. So undoubtedly, he is going to be my number one best quarterback in NFL history. So that's gonna do it for my top five. I'm gonna hand it over to Yash now, so he can explain his list and the reasons why he has his guys where he has his. So Yash.
All right, so Logan, it was great hearing your opinions on everything, and obviously, our players are very similar, and uh, who we have in the top five order is a little bit different. Obviously, a number one going to say the same, but I do have Patrick Mahomes at the five spot. Um, there's a part of me that kind of wants to put him at the sixth spot, but I think at this stage in his career, he's accomplished a little bit more in the postseason than Drew Brees has. Obviously, Drew Brees has been let down by his teams a couple times, but there's also games in the playoffs where Drew Brees hasn't played that well, and it's costing the team the games. As opposed to, I can't really say that about Mahomes. He's played well for the most part in his playoff games, except the two Super Bowls that they've lost. Um, but talking about Patrick Mahomes, I mean, he really was, especially the first couple of seasons. I thought he was really going to challenge Tom Brady to that GOAT spot. I still think if there's any player that can do it, I think it's him. However, the only I guess tarnishing thing in his career was that he lost to Tom Brady in the AFC Championship game, and he lost to Tom Brady in that Super Bowl. So I feel like if Mahomes wins seven Super Bowls, in a way, it won't be enough since he lost the Super Bowl to Tom Brady. So I think if he wants to overtake Brady, he's gonna need some sort of other records over him, or maybe eight Super Bowls. But that's a lot to ask because nobody's won eight Super Bowls. Nobody's won seven aside from Brady. Obviously, nobody's won six. Nobody's won five. So like Brady's just above and beyond everybody else. So, but if any player can do it, it's Patrick Mahomes. So at my fourth spot, I have Aaron Rodgers, who's still currently playing. I saw this thing today where he was going to have a meeting with the Steelers, and he's probably going to be playing another season. Aaron Rodgers, obviously one of the greatest players ever, unquestionably first ballot Hall of Famer. Great in my opinion. He's the most talented quarterback ever. There's not one throw that Aaron Rodgers can't make. Um, Unless it's a playoff game. But Aaron Rodgers can make just ridiculous throws off his back foot. I mean, some of those throws that we've seen a lot of them. We saw that Hail Mary against the Cardinals. We saw that one throw to Devontae Adams against the Bears where they were like tugging on his helmet and he threw it sideways. If you know what I'm talking about. Um, Rodgers, four MVPs, one of the best I think the best touchdown to interception ratio in the NFL in NFL history. Best passer rating. cumulative passer rating in NFL history. I mean, Aaron Rodgers has. I mean, he's played great, especially in the regular season. He's just dominated everybody. 4 MVPs goes to show for it. So not much I can really say about him there. Now at my three spot, I actually have Peyton Manning. Um, so I always kind of I'm always kind of weighing between two and three. Between Joe Montana and Manning, and I just think Manning is slightly worse than, or a better way to put it is he's not shown up occasionally as much as Joe Montana has in big moments. Manning's got four Super Bowl appearances. He lost the first one against the Bears, I believe. No, he beat the Bears. He lost against Drew Brees and company. Um, when he was on the Colts, and when you kind of look back at his whole career trajectory, you'd think he'd be, on the Colts his entire career, but I feel like nowadays Peyton Manning's remembered more as being a Bronco, right? And he obviously had that historic season of over 5,000 yards and 55 touchdowns with record still stands today, and he did do that in 16 games. Um, and then all that just to get absolutely annihilated by the Seahawks in the Super Bowl, 43-8. Um, but regardless, 5 MVPs is just mind-boggling. And as Logan said, the amount of talent in the NFL right now with all these quarterbacks, I don't see any quarterback winning more than 3 MVPs. If I'm like any single quarterback winning more than three, let alone 5. And I'd be surprised if any quarterback actually wins 3, because every season you see like a new quarterback who's like just emerged and going to win the MVP. Obviously, last year we saw Josh Allen, and going into this season, nobody thought that the 2 MVP finalists were going to be Drake May and Matthew Stafford. That is literally like the most. I mean, they're both great quarterbacks, obviously, and Matthew Stafford has proven himself. But you didn't. I didn't think Matthew Stafford was going to win MVP. So I don't think any player is ever going to get to 5 MVPs. I think that's a record that he's always going to have. Um, that being said, he's second all time in touchdown passes, or no, third all time in touchdown passes. He's third all time in passing yards. Um, his legacy is just it's there. It speaks for itself. Now, number two, obviously, like I said, I have Joe Montana, 4-0 in Super Bowls. Obviously, he did have the greatest wide receiver, in my opinion, of all time on his team to kind of assist him there. But Joe Montana is just the winner. Obviously, we know that of that game winner against the Cowboys, midway point through his career, and just Joe Montana is basically like the original. 100% by the end of Joe Montana's career, before Brady emerged, he was the GOAT. I'm sure, even if you ask a lot of 49ers fans right now, I'm sure that they think Joe Montana is actually the GOAT over Tom Brady. Personally, I don't believe that, but Joe Montana, he showed up in big games and he played his heart out in big games. I mean, this man, I'm looking at his Super Bowl stats here. Um, he had a passer rating of 131 in a Super Bowl. I mean, that's really good. Especially when you're going against elite level defenses at that point. Um, Especially back then. I mean, defenses were allowed to just annihilate people back then. There was no like. I feel like the rules are a lot more. Um, what's it called? I think they're a lot more. I don't want to say soft, but they're definitely a lot more aggressive on the calls that they make, and that's for the better. Obviously, player safety matters a lot. But what Joe Montana did back in the day, I mean, he was definitely at that time the best, and I think even right now he is, in my opinion, the second best quarterback of all time. And at number one, we already know who it is. We got Tom Brady, 7 Super Bowls, never being beaten, more than any franchise in the NFL, which is just crazy. He won 6 Super Bowls with the Patriots, and all those haters that were saying he wouldn't have them, he won because of Belichick. He proved them wrong when he went to Tampa. 4,000 yards in his first season, 4,600 yards, I believe, and 40 touchdowns, and they won the Super Bowl. And then he goes back right next season and throws for 5,000 yards and 43 touchdowns at the age of 44. I mean, that is historic. Um, there's just so much I can really say about him. His legacy. I mean, I think if you want an NFL career, he's the NFL career you want, because he basically defied all odds and he put himself at the very top of the pedestal, and I don't think he's ever going to be losing it. But that does make up my list of my top five, and yeah.
Yeah, guys. So if you have your own list that you want to share in the comment section, feel free to indulge on this conversation. Um, we do have a lot of the same players. I know I had Breeze, you had Rodgers. Both are great players of our generation. Um, But if you guys want more list videos like this, make sure to leave a like and let us know what you want to see on our channel in the future. But with that being said, hope you enjoyed. Make sure to subscribe, and we'll see you guys in our next video.